It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the films of June 12th, 1998. We got 7 movies to look at today, so let's go ahead and jump on into it. We'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, Ivan Reitman's 6 Days, 7 Nights, starring Harrison Ford and Anne Heche.
Ready to go.
Is it safe to fly?
It is with me.
Oh, you're that good, huh?
I'm the best you've ever been with.
I'm not sure I trust your equipment.
We may be old, but we're sturdy. What kind of work you do?
I'm an editor for a magazine called Dazzle.
10 ways to light his fire. You know how a woman gets a man excited?
How?
She shows up. That's it. We're guys. We're easy.
Two strangers on a flight to Tahiti are about to make an unscheduled stop.
Whoa! Can we reattach it somehow?
Oh, sure. We'll, glue it back on.
So how do we find them? Well, we're going to fly over the water and look out the window.
It's a boat. If you were half a pilot, we wouldn't be on this island!
I'm the best pilot you're ever going to meet.
I've flown with you twice, you've crashed half the time!
Sometimes I just want one damn thing to go right. The most romantic vacations
I need you to be my confident captain.
that's my job. Are the ones you don't plan.
Don't worry, Woody is going to take good care of your girlfriend.
What do you mean by that?
Noah!
I'm sorry.
You're kissing me?
No, for this. Harrison Ford. I really liked kissing you. Anne Heche.
If I start, I'm not going to be able to stop.
That's good.
Doesn't it?
David Schwimmer.
Do you want to stay here tonight?
No, if we're... Holy... 6 days, 7 nights.
Some sort of creature has just swum up my pants.
That's bad. This summer, find adventure in the most remote place known to man.
Better not catch you smiling.
I mean, I've talked before about how Ivan Reitman's probably one of our great directors who sadly is no longer with us. And he was a great director because he was able to do not just the big budget comedies like Ghostbusters and big hit comedies like Twins and Kindergarten Cop, but there were those movies here and there where he tried to experiment a little bit more. Something like Legal Eagles, which was a movie that was definitely outside of his norm, which was the first movie he did after Ghostbusters, which was not the best movie overall, but I give him credit for trying to do something different. It wasn't a bad movie. It was actually a decent film, but nothing really spectacular about it. And you could probably say the same thing about this particular film. I mean, you basically have a story where, Harrison Ford and Anne Heche, these two people, they fly over, they're flying to Tahiti, they get caught in the storm, they get trapped on a deserted island, and they realize that there's people out to get them. And you have the subplot with David Schwimmer, who's the girlfriend of Anne Heche's character, the boyfriend of Anne Heche's character. If it was the girlfriend, it'd be a different story, but the boyfriend of Anne Heche's character, and he's teamed up with this other woman played by Jacqueline Oberdorf. If you don't know her, you know her mostly as the voice of Ramirez from Atlantis: The Lost Empire, and I gotta say, man, she looks pretty good back then. I mean, she still looks pretty good now, but I like how the trailer basically shows you one of the reasons why to see that movie, to see her. And that's probably the most memorable scene with her in it, obviously. But, I mean, I say that, but she's alright in the movie. David Schwimmer, not so much. I feel like David Schwimmer's kind of like it feels like David Schwimmer, I think, is channeling his Ross for a little bit too much in this from Friends. Like, it doesn't really feel like he's really trying all that much here, but he's not the worst in this movie, but he just certainly is not the best thing about the film. I think the best thing about this movie is Harrison Ford and Anne Heche. You do buy their chemistry together when they're trapped on this deserted island. You can buy into the fact that Harrison Ford would fly a plane like this because he is a certified pilot, and he's been known to fly his own airplane. And he actually did his own flying in this film. And I think the movie overall is okay. It's nothing spectacular. I think the performances and the chemistry between Ford and Heche really carries the movie overall. There are some good funny moments here and there between the two of them. The jokes overall are fun, and I do like that Ivan Reitman tried to do something a little bit different outside of his norm. Kind of like with what he did with Legal Eagles. This is a film that's very much different from what you expect from the director of Ghostbusters, Twins, and Kindergarten Cop. This feels like a much different movie that he would usually do. Not necessarily meaning that he succeeded most of the way. It does get it's like the subplot with David Schwimmer's character feels kind of forced in. It feels like that should be part of another movie altogether. It doesn't feel like it's really connected to this movie in general. The screenplay itself is pretty predictable. You can kind of predict everything that's going to happen, but once again, I give a lot of credit to Ivan Reitman for trying something a little bit different outside of his normal shtick, because the last film he did, Father's Day, was a notorious disaster on so many levels. You wouldn't expect a film with him and having Robin Williams and Billy Crystal among his stars to fail as badly as that did. And this was a nice return to form for him. So while it didn't necessarily work all the way through, I will give it credit because it is a film that is actually, it has more good moments to it than bad moments. Would I say it's a classic movie? No. Would I say it's one of his best movies overall? Probably not. Honestly, I don't know if any of these people in this movie I would consider this their best movie, but it is a competently made film. It's a very well-made film. A good film that's fun for a good Saturday afternoon movie. If there's nothing else to watch and it's on TV, I'd say watch it there, but I won't say it's a classic movie by any means, but it's definitely, I think, a lot better than most people would give it credit for. You want to see one of Ivan Reitman's more interesting films that he did outside of his normal comedies, definitely give this one a chance. I think you might actually find a lot to enjoy about it, honestly. So that's 6 Days, 7 Nights. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie here. Probably the more notable comedy that came out this weekend, and that is Can't Hardly Wait.
Their first night of freedom.
He is the most dope guy in school. Yeah, and school's over.
Was their last chance.
Amanda?
To say what they want.
God, you're a hottie. Hey, can I see your name?
What? Do what they feel.
Maybe I should wear the hat. Listen here, Hootie. Hootie.
And be who they are.
I wonder how William was doing at the party. I can't feel my legs. I can't feel my legs!
Can't Hardly Wait. Rated PG-13. Opens everywhere June 12th.
Speaking of people who looked pretty good back then and still look pretty good now, Jennifer Love Hewitt, man. Oh boy, she looked pretty good in this movie, and she still looks pretty good even to this day. But this is Can't Hardly Wait, probably one of the biggest cult teen comedies of the 90s. I mean, Clueless was a big hit during this time period, and a year later American Pie would come out, which would do a whole lot better. The basic concept of this movie is that you have it taking place during a high school graduation party in the late 1990s, in a style much like the high school movies of the 1980s. The idea of setting most of the movie at a party based primarily on the movies it was basically inspired by John Hughes movies and the party scene from Say Anything. And you basically have different stories going on here. You have Ethan Embry wanting to get together with Jennifer Love Hewitt after she went through this breakup with this boy that she was dating, and you have all these other stories involving characters like Seth Green, Peter Facinelli, Lauren Ambrose, Charlie Korsmo was in this movie. There's a lot of notable names in this film that are all over the place. You see Jason Segel in here, Chris Owen, who would later go on to be in American Pie, Jamie Presley, of course she went on to become a star in My Name is Earl, Tamala Jones, Clea Duvall, who's gone on to become a prolific film and TV actress, Sean Patrick Thomas, Freddie Rodriguez. They even got some guys from Clueless in here. Donald Faison, Breckin Myers in here. Selma Blair is also in this movie. Sarah Rue, Marissa Nichols. Jenna Elfman plays the angel in this movie. Jerry O'Connell, Melissa Joan Hart in this movie. Amber Benson from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Jennifer Elise Cox, you've seen her in a number of movies. There's a lot of people in this film. The story is very generic. It's pretty much every single high school coming-of-age movie you've seen done before. But honestly, what I think kind of makes this one work is that you do relate to these characters a lot more. You do get into the situations that they're in, and you do want to see them meet their goal by the end of it. And I think the movie does a pretty good job of making these characters extremely likable, but that's because you have a really good cast that can make them come together as well as they can here. This is directed by Deborah Kaplan and Harry Elephant, who have written several movies. They wrote a Very Brady sequel. They wrote and directed Josie and the Pussycats, the 2001 movie. They wrote Surviving Christmas, Maid of Honor, Leap Year, Flintstones, and Viva Rock Vegas. They've done a lot of stuff. Most of them not that great, but this is probably easily their best movie that they made. And this is one of the two movies they directed, the other being Josie and the Pussycats. But yeah, if you looked at it on paper, it is pretty much a typical high school comedy of the same. in the same vein as something like American Pie, except this one is more appealing to not just the R-rated crowd because this is PG-13. I think American Pie honestly works a lot better because it's able to go that extra level that this movie can't. But at the same time, it works because you like the character so much. It works because you like the comedy so much. It works because you feel the inspiration from what John Hughes did back in the 80s, and also from Say Anything. I mean, this is a film that really, it delivers just enough to make it worth watching. I can definitely see why this movie has had a cult following over the years, and has become the quintessential 90s teen film. One of the quintessential 90s teen films. It's a pretty good movie. I'd say it's not a classic. I don't think it's a classic by any means, but it definitely is a film that should be watched and to appreciate the actors that are involved in here, because I think they're all given that they're all in here, and it is a really enjoyable film. I had a pretty good time watching it. So that's Can't Hardly Wait. That's probably the most notable movie that came out this weekend. Here's my favorite film that came out this weekend, probably one of the greatest underrated comedies of all time, and that is Norm Macdonald's Dirty Work.
Mitch Weaver had a loving girlfriend.
Maybe you'd feel better after we had some sex.
A steady job.
Not only are you fired, your life is over.
And a close family.
You cheated on Mom?
Oh, she was there too. Who do you think took the picture?
Now,
hey, that's my shirt.
The good life just got better.
It's a long story.
You had sex with her?
Okay, it's a short story.
Norm Macdonald's Dirty Work, rated PG-13, starts Friday.
God, I love this movie so much. Dirty Work is basically a story about Norm Macdonald and his best friend, played by Artie Lang. They started a Revenge for Hire business, and they work to fund heart surgery for Sam's father, Pops, played by Jack Warden. And when they take on the work of an unscrupulous businessman, played by Christopher McDonald, in order to be paid, they create a revenge scheme of their own. And you find out pretty much early on in the movie that Pops is actually also Mitch's father, because it's revealed that Pops had an affair with Mitch's mother, and so that makes him and Sam brothers in that case there. So there's even more added into the storyline going in here. In fact, that trailer is very misleading with some of the stuff that they show you there, if you've actually seen the movie. But most notably, this is the first starring vehicle for both Norm Macdonald and Artie Lang. For Norm Macdonald, he's coming off of Saturday Night Live. He was fired from SNL not too long before this movie came out. And Artie Lang, of course, was known for his work with the Howard Stern Show, and most notably, this is the first feature film directed by Bob Saget, coming a year after his long-running role as the host of America's Funniest Home Videos. He had also been on Full House for 7 years before that got canceled 3 years ago. And there's no doubt about it that Norm Macdonald was one of the funniest comedians working in the business, and you know, it was a shame that he had an all but brief film career as a leading actor shortly after leaving SNL, basically being fired from SNL, because there were a couple of pretty solid and funny comedies that he was in after he left. And, you know, for Bob Saget, you know, he was coming off of hosting America's Funniest Home Videos, and 3 years after the much more family-friendly Full House ended, for him to take on such a raunchy project like this as his first outing after two family-friendly shows, you know, more power to him. And really, it worked out well, because this is one of the funniest, most over-the-top movies you can ever see. You have a movie where they take every opportunity and every joke they have to find a way to make it funny and work, even after you've seen it so many times. Like, there's a scene where Mitch and Sam are just talking over a building, and about the events that just happened prior to the scene, and basically you just have a guy screaming at the top. They're on top of this building, and you don't know what they're doing at first, and then all of a sudden you hear this guy screaming, "Hey, I'm gonna kill you, a-hole!" And Norm Macdonald's just like, "Sam, are you peeing off the side of the building?" I'm paraphrasing, but you get kind of the idea there. I mean, yeah, it's childish, but the way that scene is shot is so perfectly put together, and the outcome of that scene is just hilarious. And there's just silly moments, like you see Norm Macdonald getting thrown out of the places so many times, and it gets hilarious every single time. You see him getting thrown out of buildings, you see him getting thrown into trash cans, you see him getting thrown into like things. And surprisingly, they even found a way to make a good joke about rape. I mean, that's just something that, you know, rape is very hard to make funny for obvious reasons, but I'll tell you what, they found a way to make it work. And I mean, it's probably one of the few times in history where something as wrong as rape can actually be seen as something funny, which should never be funny in real life, by the way. Rape is a serious thing, but give Bob Saget credit. He found a way to make it funny, but it's only one of the few times it actually makes it work. But by far, the best joke in the entire movie is when both Mitch and Sam they're brought to this guy's house whose neighbors are making too much noise to get revenge on them. So they have this elaborate scene where they show them throwing dead fishes all over the house. And then the people come to the house and you realize that they're mobsters. So they basically go hiding in the house, each holding 2 fishes for no reason. And what happens next is just some of the most brilliant, hilarious, insane comedy you'll ever see. And you don't even, and even then you don't even see it. It's just dialogue over the scene, but the way these guys are just putting their all into this performance, it's one of the few. It's another one of those things where it's one of the few times where they have the whole show don't tell trick in Hollywood. It's allowed to be broken here because it leads to such a hilarious moment, and just the build up, the way that everybody's talking while this is going on. Like you hear people talking about, grab this. I used it to cut firewood. Is that a hand grenade? Like that type of stuff. It's just like. And you just see Norm Macdonald and Arlie Lang with these blank stare faces, like they have no idea what the hell is going on. Like, I'm pretty sure that I seriously want to believe that they did not have that playing in the background, because I don't know how you could have that sitting there, these 2 guys standing there, blank face, and not laugh your ass off when that happens. And honestly, this movie makes several of those cliches work. I mean, they have there's one scene where they're working at a movie theater and they want to get revenge on the owner, played by Don Rickles, who's got this big thing for the theater owners, and one of the movies they're playing is Men in Black. So they decide to switch the film out with a film that's literally titled Men in Black Who Like to Have Sex with Each Other. And the movie, you just hear it and it goes like, and one of the guys is just like, look, an alien, and the other guy's just like, you're right, we better have sex with each other. It's just like, just bland dialogue like that. It's one of those. It's another one of those show don't tell things that kind of works in this film, because like just the performances alone, or the voice work is what makes it work and what makes it hilarious. There's a lot of great cameos in here too. You got a great running gag about Chevy Chase and his bookie. Chris Farley in one of his and I think his last film role is great as this guy who gets his nose bit off by a quote Saigon whore. And there's even a funny Adam Sandler cameo with him as the devil and Gary Coleman in it too, which it sounds bizarre, but it just works. It just works on so many levels, and it's a straight up laugh out loud comedy, man. This is a film that packs a ton of laughs, a lot of great comedic performances all around. It's a really great direction by Bob Saget. It's a shame he didn't direct more movies like this. I know he did one other movie, Farce of the Penguins, which is a very underrated film that kind of went straight to DVD about 10 years after this movie came out, but he hasn't really done a whole lot in terms of directing. But, not everything about Dirty Work works, but the stuff that does work really works. This is a comedy that most definitely needs a lot more attention, and it has gotten that, and thankfully you can buy a Blu-ray version of this and a DVD version of this at a reasonable price, and let me tell you something, it's worth it. This is definitely a comedy that is well worth a search for. It's a damn great film. I can't recommend it enough. Dirty Work, such a funny movie. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie we have here, and that is Cousin Bette.
Why won't you discuss it? I'm half your size! Oh,
love is sweet.
It seems romance. That's for everything these days. That's a joke!
But revenge is sweeter.
I'm sure you'll have all the happiness you deserve.
Life is so boring, don't you think?
So you have Jessica Lange playing Cousin Bette, who's a poor and lonely seamstress who, after the death of her prominent and wealthy sister, tries to integrate herself into the lives of her brother-in-law, Baron Hulot, and her niece, Hortense Hulot. Failing to do so, she instead finds solace and company in the handsome young sculptors she saves from starvation. But the aspiring artist soon finds love in the arms of another woman, Hortense, leaving Bette a bitter spinster. Bette plots to take her revenge on the family who turned her away and stole her only love. With the help of famed courtesan Jenny Kading, she slowly destroys the lives of who scorned her. And a great cast overall in this movie. Jessica Lange, Elizabeth Shue, Kelly MacDonald, Hugh Laurie, Bob Hoskins, Geraldine Chaplin, Toby Jones. Great cast here. I've never seen the movie, so I don't know if it's any good enough. I know that this is also directed by the person who did Rocky and Bullwinkle, the Rocky and Bullwinkle movie, which is not as bad of a movie, I think, as most people give it credit for. But we'll eventually get to that one when we get to 2000. But as far as this film goes, I don't really know if it's any good or not. I've never seen it before, so quick one on that one. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one, and that is High Art.
Deadline. We'll get something intimate. Trust me, okay? Just come with me. her take pictures of you. You look really sexy, actually. It's hot in here. No, you're hot.
I think we all know where that's going to go. You have this woman who lives with her boyfriend, James, goes to complain to her neighbor about the leak in her ceiling, and her neighbor is this photographer, and she ends up falling in love with her. And like I said, I think you can pretty much tell where that's going to end up going. And as far as the movie itself goes, I don't really know because I haven't seen the film. It's got Ali Sheedy in it, Radha Mitchell, and it's gotten a lot of good reviews. A lot of people praise Ali Sheedy for this. Really, I wish I could tell you more about it. I know this director, Lisa Cholodenko, she went on to direct a couple other movies of noteworthiness, Laurel Canyon, and also The Kids Are Alright. I really like The Kids Are Alright. I've never seen Laurel Canyon, though. But this one's got some positive word of mouth going for it, so I don't deny it's probably a good film, so maybe it is a good film. I might check it out one day, but I really don't know too much about it. Just know it came out this weekend. So let's go ahead and move on to the next film then, The Land Girls.
Embassy Pictures proudly presents the story of 3 young women and the war that would change their lives.
Don't let go of what you want. No! When you find it, you hold it.
I love you, Stella.
Oh, the sweet child.
The friendships that would stay with them forever.
To all of us.
Hip hip. Hurrah!
And the loves that would change their hearts.
I love you, Jay. I love you.
The Land Girls.
Story centers around the title basically referring to the real-life British women who were called upon to assist rural Englanders when men left their farms to fight in the First and Second World Wars. You have Catherine McCormick, Rachel Weisz, Anna Friel among her cast. Paul Bettany's in there as well. That's really all I know about this one because I've never seen this movie. I honestly never even heard about it before I looked this up. But got decent reviews for it, praising for cinematography. And other than that, though, that's really all I know about this movie. I know I'm not really saying a whole lot about this one, but I've never seen it before, so I can't really tell you a whole much about it. But another quick one on that one, that's The Land Girls. So we can be quick on the last one, too, since I haven't seen that one either. That is The Beyond.
The building looks like the old house by the crossroads.
Yes.
That house has been abandoned for the last 50 years.
But that's not true. It's not possible. I was there.
This house was constructed on one of this. Woe be unto him who opens one of the 7 gateways to hell, because through that gateway, evil will invade the world.
Directed by Lucio Fulci as part of his Gates of Hell trilogy. It's the second film of that series after The City of the Living Dead and before The House of the Cemetery. You basically have a story where a woman inherits a hotel in rural Louisiana that was once the site of a horrific murder, which may be a gateway to hell. This is actually a film that came out in 1981 and was re-released through Quentin Tarantino's Rolling Thunder Pictures, as well as Grindhouse releasing at Cowboy Booking International. And they re-released it in theaters under that name, and again, that's really all I know about it. I don't really know if it's any good. Probably has a cult following because it was part of the video nasty era of the 80s, so a lot of those movies have gone on to have massive cult followings over the years, so I don't deny that this one definitely has it. Plus, Lucio Fulci has made a lot of notable movies that people like, and I think this is one of those films, so not much more to say about that one, so yeah, that's The Beyond. So with that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. Next time we meet, we'll have David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson taking the X-Files from the small screen to the big screen in the X-Files Fight the Future. We also have Disney's latest animated film, Mulan, and also have Plenty, Henry Fool, and Dream for an Insomniac. So 5 movies to look at next time around. We'll delve into those next time. But until then, thank you very much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and also don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. So, with that said, I am off, and I will see you guys next time for the next video, and until then, take care.